I would say that Europe is becoming an old economy. We don't have the bonus of young population, and to some extent, the majority of European, let's quote unquote, they are middle class, which they don't really want to grow substantially. But you have people that they want to grow. You have people in Latin America, you have people in Africa, you have people in Asia that they want to grow. They want, and that bonus of growth is where I think will give stability going forward. So in a nutshell, I will continue to believe that China will continue to grow because they have one of the things which is critically important. They have a lot of reserves. Remember that the US has been financed by China in the last 10 years. The huge deficit of the US has been financed by savings in Asia. And so at the end of the day, they have the savings, they have the population, and they have the ability to invest in infrastructure to create stability. There are obviously unknowns, and for me it's extremely difficult to forecast long term, but those unknowns of transition of political system or unknowns that people may say about the shadow banking system of others, for me, those unknowns are not so complicated to manage, with the exception of political things which in front of a prime minister, which I never been in public office in my life, so I know that politicians, they always get things right or wrong, but they do the things that they think they are good for their own populations. And this is extremely difficult to have an opinion. In a nutshell, I'm optimist on the growth on Asia, and I think this is the driver of the growth in the rest of the world so far.
Well, Prime Minister Aziz and I certainly operated on that very noble principle that you described for politicians when we were in office. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Let me go from that, and you made the comment, Prime Minister, about the lack of leadership and the need for institutional reform. One of the keys, it would seem to me, to growth in a world in which many governments are constrained by fiscal pressures, where the search for yield that drove savings from China into the United States occurred, is global trade. And yet we see the Doha round languishing. We've got, it's hard to say exactly what's happening in the Trans-Pacific Partnership negotiations. There are very few plurilateral negotiations that offer much promise, and yet surely global trade is one of those areas where we could hope to see some sustainable growth emerge. Where is the leadership on that, and are we reduced to countries doing what was once referred to by Peter Sutherland as creating a spaghetti bowl of trade agreements, that none of which you can really decipher?